Hey there, and welcome back, and if you're new, welcome in. So for today's video, I'm finally going to be raising one of the few characters that I've kind of been having in the quote-unquote storage room, which honestly, I have a lot more. First, I'm going to try to prioritize the 5 stars if anything, but for now, we are going to be focusing on Albedo, so let's just get on with this video. First, the Ascensions. And with that, he's technically currently where I need him to be. Eventually, I promise I will send everyone 1090, but in due time. But for now, let's just continue. Alright, so that's when it comes to his ascensions, which I should also mention. Technically, defense is one of his, if not the most important stat he's capable of having. You can have some EM depending on the type of team you're going to go with. With my team that I'm going to go with, technically I need some EM, but not really. Or at least this first team, not really. But yeah. Also, since his artifacts are already leveled up, his current stuff, this is pretty much his current stuff. So it's going to be 17,776, 1,086, 2,367 EM. We got 119. Crit rate, we got 143 over crit damage, which is 112.2. Energy recharge, we have 121.4. And geo damage, we have 64.3, since his ascension ability is geo damage. Now then, for the weapons, dude, this is by far his best weapon. So if you unfortunately did not get it during the event, it sucks, but you're fine. There's still additional weapons. So first we'll go with the 3 stars actually, which honestly, it's this one. We got pretty much, do I have a enhanced one? I do not. Really? Alright. Just like Kazuha, how Kazuha technically has the Dark Iron Sword, Albedo has the Harbinger of Dawn. Because what? It does attack and then it does crit damage, but also right here, it has technically crit rate. Which honestly, it's very good since majority of the time he's going to have pretty much his HP over 90% because you're just going to be switching to him because he's more of a sub DPS. You can have him as a DPS, but if you have him as DPS, you might not want to go with this one unless you have a very good healer. Because for this one, you're just going to usually have him as a sub DPS. He switches onto the field. He does skill or burst and skill. I forgot which way it's supposed to go. Afterwards, you just switch and then you're set. And you still get the bonuses whether he's on field or not, which honestly, very good. He's one of the few characters that's like able to get, honestly, this is like a very good somewhat DPS 3-star weapon, which I kind of forget from time to time, but usually eventually you're gonna get your hands on some of the other 4-star weapons. Now then, for the 4-star weapons, usually you want to have a good amount of, like, one, by far this one is by far his best one. Technically, another somewhat similar one you're able to use is Favonia's, or you can maybe go with Sacrificial if you want to be able to place down a skill. But then again, Favonia's, so you can be able to technically, one, make him as somewhat of a battery since his burst is constantly active, not constantly, but is able to stay active even when he switches out and then does damage. And also chances are if those hits do crit, pretty much crit hits, even if he's not on field, they will then help get energy particles, which honestly, very good. Especially since this dude, he's one of the few Geo characters that's able to like kind of synchronize with actual elements, which honestly, he's something. It's which honestly it's very nice. So first, by far his best, even on top, even over several 5 stars as well. This is by far his best, which I really hope majority of you guys have it. If you don't, it's fine. Just you got Favonius, sacrificial, not really though. And if you don't have those two, chances are you have several of these laying around. So might as well put it to use. Technically there is another weapon which is a craftable, which I currently do not have, unfortunately. But it's also another good option. It's like this one blue sword. I believe it came out when Fontaine came out, so I'm not sure if several of you guys have the blueprints, but it should be fine. Now, when it comes to the weapons, technically you can go with crit rate. My fault. Primordial if you're lacking some crit rate, or if by any chance, because chances are you might have like a few laying around. If not, then maybe you can go with Skyward Harp. Since it slightly increases crit rate, it increases his attack movement, but then again, you're not really gonna, well, depending on how you build him, you're not really gonna have him on field that often, so this one's not really that good. Probably not the best one. Honestly, Mist Splitter's probably by far the best sword weapon in the game. Since what, it does 12 elemental damage, keyword elemental damage, so anyone, you can just slap it on anyone and then they can just get an increase in elemental damage straight off the bat, because it's not specific when it comes to what some that are, oh, hydro damage or swirl specifically or anything like that. It's like they're nice. Another good one, which is mostly like a crit stick, would be the Futsu. Since what, you also get 12 elemental damage, and then whenever the team uses elemental skills, that then gives you stacks to then do damage with your own skill and normal attacks, which honestly is pretty nice. But then again, you're kind of gonna have them as a sub DPS or a burst DPS, if anything else. So when it comes to my current options that I've shown you, by far the best out of the 5 stars, I'm gonna say Mist Splitter's the best, but you can, chances are you might have a few primordials, so you can always slap that on top of that. It helps with HP, so it makes him a bit more chunkier, if just cuz, since he's already gonna be a pretty beefy dude when it comes to his defense. But that is honestly about it when it comes to the weapons. Oh, technically the black sword also, since it also a crit rate. Anything with crit rate or crit damage, it's like an easy sword to slap onto someone and make them to be able to build them better or easier later down the line. So that's that when it comes to the weapons. When it comes to the artifact sets, it's, oh no, my fault, wrong one. This one, it's the husk. Since one, this dude primordial, preferably, apologies, you want to go with the husk, since it one slaps on defense, and on top of that then further boosts his not defense, his geo damage as well, which honestly, if you have like at least 2 other geo characters, this should be easy to get stacks upon, especially what after his burst and then his skill damage as well. So honestly, this is one of the good sets. If not, you can probably go with like a 2-piece husk and then a 2-piece golden, which then increases his elemental skill, since majority of his abilities come from his elemental skill. You just slap it on the ground, switch to someone else, and then it helps deal damage. And then obviously if you don't have either of those two, then you can probably just either a 4-piece set of this or maybe a 4-piece set of the golden. But if you don't have either of those, a 4-piece set of either of those, you could technically go with a 2-piece and a 2-piece. For the stats, you usually want defense, geo, crit rate, or crit damage, depending on what you're lacking. But you kind of preferably want to have defense percent on at least several of them, so it can help with it, since like I mentioned several times, this guy wants defense. So for constellations, pretty much this allows him, for C1 allows him to regenerate energy. Pretty much C2 allows him to do more damage when it comes to releasing his skill and burst, which on top of that increases his damage on top of that further, based in an increase of 30% of his defense, which can stack up to 4 times. This one is his elemental skill boost. As for this one, technically it helps with plunging attacks, because when he places down his skill, if you stand on the flower, it lifts up. You can just jump down, jump up, and just smack down, and then you deal 30% more damage. But honestly, it's like they should have gave this a Shao in my opinion, but that's just me. C5 technically it's his burst, and then C6 technically it helps with the crystallized shields. You know when those little when Geo reacts with an element and then it drops those little crystals and then you interact with them. Pretty much it's the one Nuvia uses to pretty much deal more damage. It pretty much increases their damage by 17%. Or shield, technically. Duration by 17%, which honestly, pretty good. As for his talents, skill priority number 1, then burst, and then technically you can level up his normal attack a little bit here and there if you want to. But usually, skill and burst are his top priority. And when it comes to pretty much this, it deals 25% more damage to opponents who has, or 50% or lower HP technically. As for the second one, which is nature, pretty much increases the elemental mastery by 125 for teammates, which is this is where technically he's able to function with other elements since it further boosts their elemental mastery, which honestly is really good, although it does it for 10 seconds. And for the last one, it just 10% chance of doubling the little materials that you're going to be doing. But for now, we'll level up his skill, burst, and maybe his normal attack. And now we go to his burst. And with that, that's his elemental skill and burst, and then I'll level up his normal attack. I'm gonna say up to like 4. That's even if I have enough, which I should. There. That'll be fine. So pretty much that is that. So his overall final stats is the 17, the 1k, the 2300 actually. For defense, 119 EM, crit rate over crit damage of 43 over 112, and 121. You might want a little bit more defense, but since he's going to be usually off the field, if not, you usually want to have someone who has a decent amount of, energy recharge, at least one person. But for now, we'll just do some damage and kind of show him off a bit. And then after this team, technically, for the next video, I'm going to have him on the Nuvia team, since this is honestly the main reason why I kind of want to have him. So first, his skill. Which honestly, once you step on this, C4 just helps that damage. And from time to time, you see how it does geo damage? You usually want to have that, which honestly really helps with Nuvia, or Navia. And look at the amount of these little guys specifically. Look how easy it is to get the little crystal's eye. I'm really excited for her. And then we have Goro. Bam. Alright, let's give it a go. Hold on, 1 second. Boom. Boom. Burst. Ooh, 17. Boom, boom. And here we go. 30k. Jeez. Still though. To some people, yeah, 30k is not a lot, but it's like, if it's consistent, it stacks up really fast. But still, overall, this dude's mostly, he's like, he's good. I like him, especially since he's able to pretty much work with other people. And on top of that, you can just, if you're low on HP, you can just hover on top of this, which doesn't last for long. Go in your bag, heal up, and then boom, go back into action, and bam, you're set. but still. In a pure Geo team, the dude functions perfect. And in an elemental team, the dude still functions extremely well. But that is honestly about it. And I'm now excited to work on the Nubia video, because that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to use him, because he helps crystallization a lot better. But still, that is that for this quick little video, which I will eventually get to the other characters, I promise, all in due time. But for now, that is about it. So until next time, later nerds, take care.